Good morning and happy Friday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you that watch it later in the day. Thank you for those of you that watch it next week. Thank you for being here and good morning. Welcome to Mindful Mornings with Minnassa. And I'm letting you see that I pulled my apron out because I've been doing our cooking for with our Hello Fresh. I thought I'd pull out my apron and then wear it so you guys could see what I was doing. Okay, enough of that. No. And so what are we doing here together? My purpose here is to one, shine my light and do what I love, which is inspiring and motivating and leading and guiding, using my gifts. Those are my divine gifts. And so that we would live our lives abundantly, be transformative and beneficial presence on this planet. And so that's what I consider our time together today, planting those seeds in myself, in y'all, and then us doing that together. So I just want to be clear about what we're doing here today, and I'm so glad that you're here. And so on this Friday, reading today comes from my girl Oprah, What I Know for Sure, and this is from her section on possibilities. How can I realize my potential more fully? Excellent question, Oprah. That's a question I still ask myself, especially when contemplating what's next in my life. In every job I've taken and in every city in which I've lived, I have known that it's time to move on when I've grown as much as I can. Sometimes moving on terrified me, but it always taught me that the true meaning of courage is to be afraid and then with your knees knocking to step out anyway. Making a bold move is the only way to advance toward the grandest vision the universe has for you. If you allow it, fear will completely immobilize you. And once it has you in its grip, it will fight to keep you from ever becoming your best self. What I know for sure, whatever you fear most has no power. It is your fear that has the power. The thing itself cannot touch you, but your fear can rob you of your life. Each time you give in to it, you lose strength while your fear gains it. That's why you must decide that no matter how difficult the path ahead seems, you will push past your anxiety and keep on stepping. A few years ago, I was writing this question in my journal every day. What am I afraid of? Over time, I realized while I had often seemed brave on the outside, I had lived much of my inner life in bondage. I was afraid that others wouldn't like me. I was terrified that if I said no to people, they would reject me. Everything I did, thought, felt, said, or even ate was connected to the fear I carried around with me, and I allowed it to block me from ever knowing who I really was. Dr. Phil often says you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Before I could challenge my fear and begin changing what I believed about myself, I had to admit that yes, I had always been afraid, and that my fear was a form of slavery. Author Neil Donald Walsh says, so long as you're still worried about what others think about you, you are owned by them. Wow. Only when you require no approval from outside yourself can you own yourself. It's true that when you summon the courage to cast a vote for yourself, when you dare to step out, speak up, change yourself, or even simply do something outside of what others call the norms, the result may not always be pleasant. You can expect obstacles. You'll fall down. Others may call you nutty. At times it may feel like the whole world is rising up to tell you who you cannot become and what you cannot do. It can upset people when you exceed the limitations they've always had for you. And in those moments of weakness, your fear and self-doubt may cause you to falter. You may be so exhausted that you want to quit. But the alternatives are even worse. You might find yourself stuck in a miserable rut for years at a time. Or you could spend too many days languishing in regret, always wondering, what would my life have been like if I hadn't cared so much about what people thought? And what if you decided right now that you will stop letting fear block you? What if you learn to live with it? To ride its wave to heights never knew were possible. You might discover the joy of tuning out what everybody wants for you and finally pay attention to what you need, and learn that ultimately you have nothing to prove to anyone but yourself. What it truly means to live without fear and to keep reaching for your best life. And that is my prayer for y'all today, that you would live in a way that you are sowing the seeds and creating the circumstances to live your best life. And don't worry about what I think. I know that you are super fantastic, and I love and accept you just the way that you are. Have a great weekend.